The painter.
You scared the hell out of me!
It's Sunday Morning on CBS. And here again is Jane Pauley.
That's Candice Bergen and the late Robert Pastorelli in the very first episode of Murphy Brown from 1988. Now, 30 years later, Murphy's back. A new version of the hit comedy premieres Thursday night here on CBS. Lee Cowan takes a look back and a look forward.
30 million people tune in to see me every week.
Right.
It's been 20 years since Candice Bergen took her final bow as Murphy Brown.
Sorry, Jim. This babe can't be bought.
All right.
The fictional newswoman many real-life journalists secretly wished they could be.
He'd really like you to do the interview, but if not, he's going to give it to Jane Pauley.
The big J?
The show had a good long run, 10 seasons. The cast and crew earning their fake newsroom a slew of very real Emmys. When it finally ended in 1998, most thought it would go where most sitcoms go, maybe a DVD box set or reruns on cable. But then came election night 2016.
We have been told that Hillary Clinton has called Donald Trump to concede.
Let's just say it didn't exactly go her way.
It was just grief, frankly, for till now.
And so now, Murphy's back on the air, hosting Murphy in the Morning, just in time for the midterms.
Reminder, cold and flu season is approaching, so get your shots, pull out your heavy winter coats, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, stay away from drafts, please.
Is this, at some level,
And we're clear.
activism in a sitcom?
Well,
Yes.
Yeah?
we haven't really articulated that we consider ourselves the resistance, but I think that's a subtext, certainly.
At Bergen's side is the woman who created Murphy Brown, showrunner and writer Diane English.
So if Hillary had won, you guys probably wouldn't be here.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. We didn't feel like we should go back and revisit it unless there was a real reason to do it.
And this was the reason?
Well, it got us pretty close, you know, but when you look at what's going on the front page of the newspaper every day, that's what put us over the top.
It really wouldn't work, of course, unless the rest of Murphy's gang felt the same way.
What a perfect time for Murphy Brown, a reporter, and Frank and Corky reporters to come back and start covering some of the madness.
I'll never meet a woman working these crazy hours.
Joe Regalbuto, Faith Ford, and Grant Shaw were all anxious to return.
2 years on The View nearly killed me.
Was it a strange thing to kind of re-inhabit a character that you hadn't really dealt with in 20 years?
I was sort of concerned about that because my character was based on being young and in over his head, and I thought, you know, if I'm sort of freaking out at my age now, is that going to be awkward? Or
Now you're just old and over.
now I'm just old and overwrought, and it works fine.
I love the two babies talking about being old.
That's Phil's bar we're sitting in, Murphy's Washington watering hole. It looks just like the original.
I really miss Phil. He always gave the best advice.
The only difference now, though, is Tyne Daly, a TV veteran, serving the worst coffee in town.
Here we go. You want to talk. And I thought cleaning the men's room was going to be the worst part of this job. Why can't they hit a target that big?
Murphy's Georgetown townhouse had to be recreated, too.
So when you saw this the first time, what was that like?
Well, tears came to my eyes because it's almost identical to the set that we had when we started 30 years ago.
I walked in with Faith, and Candice was already crying on the set.
I was a heap.
It was,
I was just a heap. I wasn't expecting it.
we're home again.
Yeah.
And you don't go home again, but we came home again.
But what does it mean to be home again in such different times? There were tough issues in the 90s, and the show dealt with them. Everything from alcoholism to cancer.
Lumpectomy, mastectomy. I mean, I like my breasts fine, but they're not worth dying over.
Diane English hopes the new Murphy Brown will be even more topical.
Journalists are the only real firewall between power-hungry politicians and the people they were elected to serve. Someone told me that once.
Yahoo.
Storylines already include gun control, immigration, and sexual
Do the names Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose, and Bill O'Reilly ring any bells?
We have 13 episodes. We're here to make some noise. We're expecting a certain amount of backlash, yeah, but we used to get it in the old days, too.
Most notably, back in 1992, when Murphy became a single mom. Which brought this famous rebuke.
Bearing babies irresponsibly is simply wrong.
From then Vice President Dan Quayle.
Primetime TV has Murphy Brown mocking the importance of fathers by bearing a child alone and calling it just another lifestyle choice.
Some of the new cast members aren't even old enough to remember that backlash.
Hey, guess who's back from America's Heartland?
Including Jake McDormand, who plays Murphy's son, now all grown up.
I actually hadn't seen any of the original series.
You hadn't seen anything?
No, I mean, I knew about it, but I hadn't seen any of it, so...
Did you go back and then look at older episodes?
Not until after we filmed the first episode, which was a smart move, because it's intimidatingly good.
What may be most intimidating, however, is the idea of the current White House reacting.
I'm terrified.
I'm terrified, yeah.
Adon Roca's character is especially timely.
Can I get some more ice, please? What's that? Ice.
He plays an immigrant in constant fear of being deported.
What's the problem?
I'm kind of known as the tweet raider.
Nick Dodani plays the newsroom's social media guru. In real life, however, he thinks he's better off not knowing what the White House might say.
Well, I deactivated my Twitter.
Did you really?
I deleted my Twitter.
That's smart.
And it's my message to America is delete your Twitter.
With just days to go before the premiere, you might expect nerves to be a little raw. And they are.
Line.
I imagine because the expectations are so high, maybe impossibly high.
You had to bring that up.
The last 3 episodes aren't even written yet, by design, so the show can be flexible enough to respond to news of the day.
He invited me to his house afterward, and I assumed that there would be other people, but there weren't. And something happened, that's it.
Did you tell anybody?
No.
Every show night, I start getting all weepy, and Faith comes in. She says, "Now, you can do this." I know, but it's so much.
So why do you get weepy?
This show was so important to so many of us when we were doing it, and you really connect on a level that's deeper.
The world is perhaps more polarized than it was when Murphy was last on the air, but Candice Bergen and the rest of the cast are counting on the fact that somewhere in the middle of the left and the right, there's still a little room for humor.
Murphy would cut Shannon down to size, just like she did with Jeff Sessions. He used to be 6 feet. Now he sleeps in an acorn.